Liberal tears and liberal fears. Let's talk about how we just won the fucking election. That's what this video is. And in watching all of the liberal tears on all of the social media, in particular, I watched a video by Matt Walsh on the Daily Wire that was him going through like clips of people and people's tweets talking about their fears of Trump and the grinding and gnashing of teeth and crying that resulted from this election. I was there just to take great pleasure in that, to be honest, but I noticed something. And the thing that I noticed was the liberal fears. So let's talk about that for a second. Why is it exactly that the liberals think Trump is going to put them in? Ow, god damn it. Sorry, I just scratched my nose. That hurt. Why is it exactly that the Democrats think that Trump is going to literally put them in camps and take away their freedoms? Let's explore this. For sure, there's some percentage of this that is their whole side and their media screaming that he's Hitler. For sure. Some of this just lives rent-free in their minds. But why is that exactly? I think it's because everything the left says about Trump or us is stuff that they actually want to do. I think that if you gave the Democrats the amount of power the Republicans just won overnight in this country, they would start fucking re-education camps or concentration camps for Trump voters. And I think they would take away our freedoms in reality. I think you'd see a death of the First Amendment, a death of the Second Amendment. I mean, look at the shit they did under COVID with free speech, the right to assembly, and the freedom of religion. It's pretty clear to me that they would do certain things, and it worries me that the thing that comes to their mind that Trump might do is start concentration camps. Because it's like an insight into their mentality. It's an insight into what they would do. And what they would do with that amount of power would be to go full Hitler. Fucking try to kill us. And this is, there's a war coming, and anything they can do to prevent us from, fighting that war and winning that war is justified. Because Trump is Hitler. And this is how they would justify to themselves anything and everything that they would ever fucking need to do to prevent that from happening. No matter how fucking evil it is. And this is why the left is fucking dangerous. Like, my guess is, just, sitting here from the outside looking at the Republicans and Trump, are they going to, make sure Roe versus Wade doesn't become the law of the land and abortion be federally legal? Yes. Does that ban abortion? No. It gives the power back to the states that allows them to decide whether they want to have legal abortion or not. Which is the way it should be. Like, the federal government should not be all powerful. The states should be, in many ways, more powerful than the federal government. That's the system our country was founded on. And it's interesting to me that they interpret giving them the freedom of choice as some sort of tyranny. How dare you allow people to be free? It's the weirdest shit ever. Trump's going to take away our freedoms. But if we got elected in, you wouldn't have the ability to speak, assemble, have freedom of religion, or be armed. Okay, crazy. Like, yes, you're the party of freedom. I think this is why you see the crying and gnashing of teeth and the pulling of hair, is because their fear is that we are as bad as they are. You know? A truly good person cannot even think on the level and in the way of a truly evil person. However, when you are evil yourselves, you know, and you look at what your opponents are doing, you have a very different worldview. Your worldview becomes, well, this is what I would do. And I think that's a lot of people. That's how they view everything. And clearly, if we would do this, then they would do this. And this is why you see the left actually do everything that they accuse Donald Trump of doing. And I think when they say he's Hitler and that he's going to start concentration camps, that he's going to take away freedom, that means they are Hitler. They are going to start concentration camps. They are going to take away freedoms. Look at the track record. Literally everything that they accused Donald Trump of being or doing for 4 years is exactly what Joe Biden did. Except instead of doing it on them, he did it on us. The last 4 years have been shit. I don't know about you, but in the country that I've been living in, we had a petty fucking dictator for 4 years that was, asleep at the wheel anyway, and our country was controlled by the deep state bureaucracy and the Democratic Party. And I'm really fucking glad to see not only Trump win, but we won the Senate for sure, and it looks like we're going to win the House. And I cannot wait to have 2 years where we can actually try to right the ship. I just made a 50-minute video talking about what I would do if I were Trump to right the ship. And a lot of it's crazy shit. But one thing I left out is we need to fix the voting in this country. And I don't mean like fix it to where the Republicans always win. I mean fix it to where we have fair and free elections in perpetuity. Because a lot of what happened that caused Joe Biden to win in the first place was election manipulation and media manipulation of public opinion. And I think some constitutional amendments to fix at least the voting thing, if not the media thing, are hella important. I didn't mention that at all in my video that I'm going to upload after this one. But the thing that I would do is every state has to have paper ballots. There has to be, observers from all sides when they're counted. They have to be counted by, not by hand, but we have like basic bitch, scanners that count shit. That's fine. They just can't be, an all digital voting system connected to the internet that's got a billion different things that could go wrong with it. Everything from being programmed from the manufacturer to skew numbers to hackers to whatever. Fuck that shit. Paper ballots. And every single person who votes should have to show a fucking ID. And I think we should do this in a constitutional amendment. And this is where I'm not really for the federal government waving its big dick around unless it's really necessary. And the shit that it's necessary about is this voter shit in my mind. The other thing that I advocated for in my video that has yet to post is using the big dick of the federal government to solve our fucking debt and budget crisis. Some of that in the long term, some of that in the short term, but like some of that's legitimate fucking like crazy tyranny shit, but like I don't know how else you're going to actually pay off our national debt. And as someone that likes states' rights and likes a small federal government, I really don't like giving the federal government powers, but I think one of the powers that they should definitely have is controlling how the votes are counted, how the elections go, and making sure that it is a free and fair system for everyone where there is no voter fraud. And there aren't dead people voting and illegal immigrants voting. And the mail-in ballot thing, I'm kind of mixed on, because like I had a great grandma who couldn't make it to the polls and she should vote. But at the same time, we had Joe Biden elected by like, okay, let's get into the numbers. Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Kamala Harris got so far like 67 million votes. So my question is, what the fuck happened to 14 million Democrats? Were those all mail-in ballots? Did those people actually even fucking exist? Because who on earth voted in the last election for Biden that wouldn't have voted in this election for Kamala? There's probably some percentage of Democrats that haven't been happy the past 4 years and don't like the fact that Kamala was appointed as their new candidate without any fucking election whatsoever. But at the same time, they're all a bunch of fucking idiots that do what they're told. There was really 14 million of them that decided not to vote. I think it's much more likely that that 14 million comes from the mail-in ballots. And either they're people who are just too lazy to go to a poll and vote, which means they shouldn't vote in the first place in my mind. Like, if you can't be bothered to get off your ass to go vote, then maybe you just don't get to vote. But at the same time, how many of those 14 million people that didn't show up to this election didn't exist in the first place? I think we should explore that topic a lot. I kind of hope Trump gets into some of that shit. I don't know what Trump is going to do. I kind of doubt that he does the plan that I outlined in my 50-minute video on what I would do, which I encourage you to go watch because some of it's funny. I will tell you full out, my ideas are controversial and crazy. But, controversial, crazy shit gets results. And this is where my fear is. We have elected Republicans who are not controversial or crazy. And they are very status quo. And they're going to, maybe pass a few laws in the next 2 years that help us out. But in reality, they lose the House or the Senate in 2 years. And then they lose the presidency in 4 years. And then we're just right back in the same situation where we found ourselves. And that, this is a major win. And we just moved the ball forward on the death of the Republic a few years. But in reality, we're all still fucking doomed. We're on a sinking ship. It's time to stop bailing water and start working on fixing the fucking bilge pumps and patching the holes in the boat. And if you're not going to patch the holes in the boat and fix the bilge pumps, none of this fucking matters. This is why, I was saying in my videos that I don't think Trump is the orange Jesus savior of America that so many of our Republican brethren think he is. I think he's going to be way better for this country than Kamala, and I'm really glad he won. But I still stand by my statements that it really didn't matter. Is it the U.S. goes under in 4 years or 20 years? We are on a path where we are doomed. And we have to address our budget issues, our debt issues, and our military position around the world now, thanks to Joe Biden. Like, between the fuck up in Afghanistan, our weakening policies in the Middle East, our weak policies towards Russia that caused them to invade the Ukraine, and our kowtowing to China, bullshit. Like, we should have cut the U.S. and our allies off from Chinese goods 20 years ago. before China got a boot on our throat, which now they have. And in my video, I made the position that we have a different boot on their throat, but go watch the video. If we don't make big changes here, if we don't try to really course correct and right the ship, none of this fucking election matters. And I think that's the position that the Democrats that are crying and gnashing of teeth and all that shit, that's why they're doing that. They assume that we're smart enough to actually make some changes. And I kind of think we might not be. I think that if you look at what Trump did in his last term, the only thing he got accomplished when he had both houses was he got some tax cuts done. Now is the time to fix all of the issues in this country, from illegal immigration to taxes to the budget to our national debt to the foreign wars. We have the power and we need to use it. If we don't use it, then we might as well have elected Kamala Harris. And, time will tell. Maybe I'm wrong about, Trump having another milquetoast fucking 4 years in office where he's better than having a Democrat in there, but he doesn't actually do any of the shit that's going to fix our situation. And some of our situation is just hard to fix. My method to pay off the national debt, I'll admit, is crazy. Go watch the video. And then there's the added issue of inflation, which I think may be unfixable. Some of this inflation is just going to be here to stay. But course correcting the ship and actually winning again at some things, I think would inevitably help our financial situation. And it's our financial situation that controls inflation, it controls the debt, it controls everything. We need to start setting America up to succeed and be run like a business instead of run like a fucking communist hellhole. A lot of what's gotten us to this position is fighting wars we can't pay for and having a giant national defense that we don't necessarily need and a shitload of social programs we don't necessarily need. And some portion of this should be addressed by Trump within the first 2 years while he has the ability to do so. It's I almost guarantee you that in 2 years, the Democrats win back one of the houses of Congress. Nobody's ever happy with whoever is in power. And some people are going to vote Democrat again. And it looks like if we took back the House at all this time, we're going to do it by a very small margin. And my prediction is in 2 years, the Democrats run the House. And once they have the House, they control the purse strings, and that means they can keep us from doing anything and everything they want, really. The government of the United States is set up in such a way as to where the House controls a lot of shit in this country. You can have the presidency and the Senate all you want, and then you'll get to run the federal government the way you want for the next 2 years until you get voted out. But you won't be able to pass any law you want. You won't be able to, make the budget that you want. They literally control the purse strings. The power in a lot of things resides in the House. I don't know. I should be more focused on the fact that we just fucking won and how awesome that is. But the nagging thing at the back of my mind is, are we going to take this victory and carry it, all the way across the field to where it needs to be? Or are we going to take this victory and do basically nothing with it like we did last time when Trump won? Wan. It's the past tense of one. I'm making my own new language, apparently. I don't know. I already tried filming this video once and ran out of fucking camera memory. So, sorry if this is kind of shitty. But yeah, my real fear of this is basically that Trump has another term exactly like his first term. And in his first term, he did some good things, don't get me wrong. But he didn't right the ship to the point that we continue on for the next 100 years. He righted the ship to the point that he, maybe got us an extra decade of having a republic. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Like, the Democrats are playing this super long game of we will eventually win because we are right and history is on our side. If you fight that with this, kid gloves minimalist approach that Trump took in his first term, where he employed a bunch of establishment Republicans, we're just fucking doomed. And last time, he could have got the bureaucracy and got the federal agencies and the intelligence agencies, and he didn't. And that should be step fucking one. You've got to get all of the people that were put in power by Obama and Biden over the last 20 years out of this fucking shit. As long as you leave them in their little bureaucratic offices where they're like, have godlike power, it almost doesn't matter that we have Trump as president. And this is where I wish Trump was more of what they said he was, what they say he is. They cry about him being Orange Hitler. At least Hitler fixed the fucking economy. I'm not really for concentration camps or re-education camps or any of that bullshit. It would be fun to put the Democrats in a re-education camp. I'll freely admit that. And when I talk to Democrats, half of the time, that's what I tell them I want, because I like to see them sit and spin. But in reality, all that shit's very un-American. And my goal would not be, to have the Republicans rule America for forever. We should seize power for the next decade to put us on a course where there is an America 100 years from now. As the course we're on right now, there is not an America 100 years from now. Flat out. There might be some collections of states forming new countries, but the idea of a United States of America being a world power and a superpower, it'll be done within a century. Either that or we're going to have a horrible civil war, and maybe whatever comes out of that eventually is a world power again. But usually, after big civil wars, superpowers are no longer superpowers, at least for a while. Look at us after the Civil War. We took a really long time before we ever did anything ever again. And part of that's because America of that day and age was kind of isolationist to begin with. But we were a growing world power.